and I also am the booth babe for Big Shiny Robot. So
You can all do folks, look at this guy.
And my future is very bright. Yes, that's right. Actually, the third prescription I can't really see very well, so I probably won't be taking them off. First memory, probably my 8088, the only Apple computer I've ever owned and probably ever will own. So I remember California Games and Donkey Kong and a couple others, Load Runner, really fun.
Well, I'm Aaron Hastings. I'm a news correspondent and writer for LordOfTheLaserSword.com. And my first greatest memory for video games, we got a brand new NES. And we got the combo Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt cartridge. You guys remember that? Yeah! With the rifle guy that you run to the street. Awesome. I hate the dog. But, oh man, good times with that. And then we got a Sega Genesis, and Sonic the Hedgehog blew our minds, and it was great. So.
And I'm Jason Ball. I'm actually not, I am a gamer, but I actually am in the film industry. I'm a director of photography for film commercials. I wanted to come out because a lot of what I do is starting to be mimicked a lot in games, both present and in the future. My strongest memory, though, I'm going to tell you guys all right now, I committed a cardinal sin. And that is, on my NES, my best friend and I were going through Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, all the way down to the Great Palace. And for a month and a half, we were just getting our asses whooped by Dark Link. Until one day, and this was my game, and he would come over and play it. Until one day, he figured out how to do it, standing in the corner. And he was about to win the game, and I ran up and hit reset.
I think you have to go.
It's okay, you can probably still watch that on YouTube. You can see the ending.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, he wins.
I was going to tell you my favorite memory, but you remind me of, I was going to bring this up later down the road. We were talking about that a little bit. Like, it's just weird nowadays that you can just find how to do things via YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, there's not that mystery anymore. You can just go, how do I beat this? Got it.
Well, and like the rumors, right? In like middle school and high school, like, oh yeah, like, you know, in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, there's a way to get like the other horse, right? And like there's the secret code, but there's no way to confirm it. Like someone could say they've done something, and like there's no way.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when I was playing that game, the only thing I had to reference with any of the dungeons or anything was Nintendo Power.
Right? Oh yeah.
I spent all my money I could to subscribe to Nintendo Power, or rip out pages in the magazine rack.
You mentioned the rumors. It reminds me, like, I remember when I was in middle school, someone said that if you were Guile on Street Fighter 2, you could pull the gun out and shoot him.
Yeah.
Is that true? But I never saw it. And I did everything I could to see it, and it didn't happen.
I think you were friends with the same asshole kid. I'm allowed to swear.
I've seen one little kid. We should.
I apologize. I'm sorry. Because we had the rumor, and I get rid of the nude code on Super Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
You spent hours. I don't think there's a code. I don't think there might be. I don't know. I don't
Alert.
I heard the new code on Mortal Kombat. But of course, Mortal Kombat, whenever a rumor arose, they made a character for it.
Right. They just
Yeah.
It's like, I got you this
The
time.
next character is Rumor.
My favorite memory, it's not really my first memory playing a game, but it's my favorite one. My brother and I had a Nintendo NES original, and Double Dragon was out. $75 for Double Dragon at Toys R Us. And remember at Toys R Us, we used to pull the little tabs, and you have to go to that little window and get it up? So they didn't have it, and my father got it for us for Christmas because Santa was busy. So my dad sat in a parking lot smoking cigars with other dads to get this Christmas Eve shipment of Double Dragons. Smoking cigars saying, this is crap. But we played the hell out of that game, so. I mean, it might go into your first memory playing a game, but I guess to give us maybe, I'm not kind of looking at our ages and whatnot, what was your first home entertainment system that you had?
NES.
NES?
I had an Atari, but it was like 10-year-old Atari. It was kind of half broken and only worked 50% of the time. So Super Nintendo was the first one that actually like functioned regularly for me.
Yeah.
For me, like I was saying, it was the 8088. 88, so I had stuff like Burger Time. I also had a Game Boy that was broken by my dad because I played it so much.
I had an NES, and then we later got a Sega Genesis, but my brother won a Game Boy, and we're talking like the very original old gray. The year it came out, he won one in school. First kid in his elementary school to have one. And we played that game so much. We had Donkey Kong on it, and we had Super Mario, the World 2 with the Land. Yeah, Super Mario Land 2. And, oh man, so great.
I remember getting an Atari 2600 in 1980. Still have it.
I think that's the greatest system of all time.
Yes.
Spider-Man was amazing on that.
And again, I think
Kickball.
in the 80s kid, we were NES, 100%, and then we upgraded to the Genesis. But okay, so there's been a lot of documentaries out there. I've seen Chasing Ghost. There's also King of Kong, which is a fantastic documentary. If you haven't seen King of Kong, has anybody seen this movie? Not enough of you. So go and check out King of Kong, which is basically about, well, actually both of them, but King of Kong is about two guys going at it, who's got the highest Donkey Kong score of all time. And these guys are idiots. I love them to death, but they're the most eccentric weirdos you will ever see in your entire life. To where they think they doctored video of them winning and whatnot.
Well, the one guy's wife is like super supportive. She's like, you know what? This is his dream. Really? Like, he just hang out in the garage with Donkey Kong for 3 years? This is amazing.
Well, doesn't it start with the guy in his garage?
Yeah.
And then his daughter's like, I'm hungry! He's like, hey, I'm gonna win this!
This is a kill screen coming.
So my question is, because we've been talking about home entertainment systems, what do you feel are the pros and cons of arcades versus taking them to your house? We'll start on this end. We've been going that way.
The social aspect would be the pros. I mean, going to an arcade, I was at the very tail end, or I guess I should say the twilight years of the arcade. I still remember them being around, but, I got my Atari at 83, but I gotta say the Nintendo was probably just right around the corner right after that, and then it was just a Nintendo away from that point on. But just, I do remember playing in like the corner store, the drugstore, an arcade version of Super Mario Bros. And just dumping quarters after quarters with my best friends. And those are some really good memories. And I think that one of the things that we lose or immediately lost at first, I think, was the social aspect. I think it's coming back, and it's coming back in interesting ways with, everyone's online now, you can hear a worldwide community talking to them. But I still feel that that's not the same from interacting face-to-face with
Well, I think one of the biggest pros of the arcade, in addition to the social aspect, is the just kind of holding, becoming one with the arcade machine, right? Like, this was a serious thing. Like, with the controller, you almost feel like you're separated a little bit from the TV and from the console. But when you kind of get a hold of the joystick and the two buttons, right? You're playing, TMNT Turtles in Time or whatever, and it's for Galaga, and it's just awesome, right? And then it's like, oh, put in another quarter. That's the downside. Put in another quarter, and just, oh, great, there goes my laundry money. But who cares? Because man, I'm getting the high score on this, and it was just, it really was an immersive experience.
Should have asked you what your favorite arcade cabinet was. Because mine was the Ninja Turtles game, because April O'Neil was so hot on the side of it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at Google it. I don't care. It's amazing. I think, and I agree with you with the social aspect of it. What was kind of fun when there were arcades there, like it was almost like when you go up to like a pool hall and you put your quarter on top. You're like, I'm gonna take this guy down.
Yeah.
It was an investment. I had $5 to go spend at the arcade, and then, but you see a guy who's just dominating. You're like, ooh, I'm not playing this game. I'll go play Burger Time. No one's playing that one. It's only a quarter.
Right at the beginning, though, it was a lot of co-op games, though. I mean, one of my favorites is the X-Men arcade. The extended cabinet was amazing. But later on, it became Mortal Kombat. Let me think, what else?
Was there Primal Rage?
Primal Rage.
Yeah.
I played the crap out of Talon. And, I went through a lot of quarters. But going back to your question, though, I think I would have, cost effectiveness probably would have been better for me, but coming from a household where my parents didn't want to buy a console, that was the only experience that I got, was to go to the arcade or go to the grocery store, Peter Piper Pizza or La Galleria, rest in peace. Those places, I remember the arcade in the Galleria was amazing. That was one of my favorite places as a kid.
For me, it's more the graphics, because I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. Has anyone in this room ever seen Punch-Out, the arcade version? How much better does that look compared to the NES? Because a lot of problems that we had in the 80s was when you ported something over. Maniac Mansion is a good example of it. They look terrible because you're down converting it. I remember playing Mortal Kombat when it first came out, and then when the SNES version came out, low resolution, terrible backgrounds, no blood, right?
Is it blood code? You can turn it off in the options.
I thought that was only in
Yeah,
Sega.
totally. Genesis.
That was Genesis, because Nintendo would be family friendly. But the idea, it's true. You should go look it up. All the stuff that's been taken out of Nintendo games, there are complete websites to it of everything that was considered unfamily friendly in the Nintendo of America. So they took it out and replaced it with better material that just, it makes no sense, like how, certain things with blood look like slime in other games. But I think with the arcade, it felt like you were getting a better gaming experience, and it was much more entertaining to go through. Maybe it was a shorter version than what you would end up getting on a home console, but it felt like a more fulfilling experience.
Totally agree with that. I remember even playing games like Soul Calibur 2 in the arcade,
Yes.
and that was amazing. So.
I guess I have a different idea. So I do a lot of fighting games, and I think competitive gaming is the single greatest thing to hit the planet. I love it. I could watch Twitch for months. So for me, I've really gotten into the Street Fighter community quite a bit, and listening to like the OG guys like Seth Killian and Daigo Umehara, and these guys talk about hanging out in like arcades in Chicago, where there's like people around them smoking, and dudes are getting like stabbed over gambling over arcades. So while I would love to go back to that era, I feel for the future of our children. I think online gaming is okay. I will say though that like there's a certain art, like when you play Street Fighter 2, like you would have to actually feel the joystick for a minute and go, okay, is this loose, is it tight? Like, whereas now when I play Street Fighter, it's my stick, I know how it works. So there's a certain art to like using this beat up old arcade system and praying the buttons actually work. So I do think that needs to come back a little bit.
Just real fast though, I mean, how many of you guys agree with me that heaven sounds like 50 video games going off at the same time as you walk into an arcade, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we miss. Like when you just walk in and it's like the pool hall, like you said, Jimmy. I really like that kind of, you're painting an image. You walk into this really dark place, like a pool hall, flashing lights everywhere, and the sound of like 50 games going on all around.
And what's interesting is we talk about that so fondly, but we hate on microtransactions now. Like, wasn't the arcade the first microtransaction? Like, we had that figured out, man.
Now I've got Skylanders, thank you.
If my phone had a little coin slot, like, of course.
Oh, it's coming. Mad Cat's making it.
Yeah. What was that?
Coin slot for his DLC.
Oh. No, I love that you mentioned, like, arcades, they did have a certain vibe to them. There was, like, I'm from Atlanta, and I'll never forget, we had a place called Mardi Gras Arcade. I wasn't allowed to step foot in there as a 12-year-old. My parents were like, no, that's where drug deals happen and people get stabbed. But you can play in the arcade in the movie theater, so that's where I was stuck, or the mall kind of thing. But so I kind of missed that. Let's see. I guess, of game-wise, I kind of combine those two questions together. What, to you personally, makes a good game? And because of that, what game do you think you spent the most time in your life playing?
Oh, man.
Think hard.
I know, it's hard. This is a hard question, guys. I think what makes a good game is, honestly, whether or not people will play it. Because gaming is reason why it's very subjective, at least to me. I mean, there's games, like, don't boo me, but I don't like Call of Duty at all. I can't do it, I can't play it, it's just not my bag. But at the same time, I know there's 1 million plus people that are going to buy it and grind it out online, and that's cool. I think if people will... I think to me, what makes a good game is whether or not people play it, and also, I think like on an art level, if it reaches you in some way, maybe speaks to you. I'm a really big fan of what the indie scene has been doing. The Last of Us, I know is an indie game, but that game like hit me weird. Like that game drove a point home to me about like the human condition. So any game I think that can reach you that way. But I mean, the game I've played the most of recently is I think I'm like 100. I think I'm like 56 play days on Super Street Fighter 4.
Wow.
So I'm up there. That's probably the most played I've done.
That's a lot of kicks.
A lot of games.
Before I get into mine, but jumping back to arcade real quick, do yourself some local favorites. Go visit Atomic Arcade up on Highland, and the Game Grid out in Valley Fair Mall. Those are the two in this town that really deserve your love.
And those Game Grid guys, like when Super Street Fighter 4 was coming into the US but hadn't released yet, they actually ordered a board from Japan so people could come in and play it like a month and a half early. So they're actually really on top of what's going on there. It's a pretty cool arcade.
They have a great one called The Act. It plays like Dragon's Lair. It was made by an animation studio. Like you play the game as it's animated in front of you. But for me, there's a little kid inside me always saying, "Tell me a story." So RPGs were the things that really spoke out to me the most. I know it's not an RPG, but the Legend of Zelda series, NES through SNES were the finest, in my opinion. But when you get into like longer RPG material, the ones that stuck out to me were Final Fantasy III.
Yes, sir.
It's expensive as hell, and if anyone has a copy, please sell it to me. Earthbound. And one that's really overlooked on PlayStation is Suikoden 2.
Oh,
Which was super expansive, and it gave you the ability to build an army and command a kingdom from an island that you built from the ground up. It was so badass. But I always enjoyed having that storyteller aspect of like I wasn't just watching a movie or reading a book. I was actually a part of the adventure. And depending on what I did, the adventure changed in front of me. So yeah.
All right. That's kind of hard to follow. So, I think the thing for me is I used to work in the gaming industry, so I've had so many stories, and so many of them can stand out to me. Stuff like Soul Reaver is a great series. I've always been a fan of the Dooms, but the ones that I've spent the most hours playing are things like World of Warcraft, because I'm a really competitive gamer. Spent hours and hours on Halo 2. I played my fair share of Call of Duty prior to most of the guys from Infinity Ward leaving, so I jumped off that ship around that time, Battlefield, things like that. But the thing that gets me with World of Warcraft is it's as deep as you want it to be, so you can dig into the lore if you want, you can just go out and kill people if you want, and keep getting sucked back in, and it's his fault. I tried to get rid of that disc. I got it. I was like, I'm not going to play this thing. Gave it to Tom. Tom was home playing it one day. I was like, I can play this game. And then, years and years later,
I like a game that I can continuously play after the story's over. And I get a lot of crap for this one. I don't care. I like the Grand Theft Auto series a lot. I think 4. I'm gonna get yelled at. All right. 4 is better because I don't know why Rockstar decided to put every rule in the book on 5. I don't know why there is a option to lock your personal car, where I can't steal it online in a game called Grand Theft Auto. I think that's stupid. I don't know why they penalize people for blowing their cars up and stuff. It just seems weird. It seems so regulated now. And then I actually fell out of it, and I just started playing Mario Kart 8. But no, I my friends and I, we were playing, no joke, we were playing Grand Theft Auto 4. When did that game come out? 2008?
Yeah.
Till 2014, or whenever the week before 5 came out. Because we would be idiots and put 1,000 sticky bombs on a car and ramp it off the bridge, and then stand in the middle of it and get blown up, and we just laugh like schoolgirls. Hilarious. Like that kind of stuff, like the freedom that you would have in that game was so fun. Now, I'll be honest, I'm in the bad sport room on Grand Theft Auto 5 for 2 years. I've been managed to the bad sport for 2 years because I wanted to blow your car up in a game called Grand Theft Auto. So, but I still like the fact that I continue to play with it. And I love that they throw you in the bad sport room with people that just want to do what you want to do. I don't care.
Is that like total? I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, but is that like total anarchy? I mean, is there just Michael Bay everywhere?
Yes! You're absolutely right, because I want to get to this part too, because one of my favorite things to do is online stories, people that you dealt with online, if you have any. I had a guy flying around in an F-16 in Grand Theft Auto 5, and all I was doing was run around, and he could nosedive and just go, and just kill me. So we started talking so much crap to each other. He's like, why don't you come out of the subway tunnel? I'm like, why do you think I'm not coming out of the subway tunnel? So we'll get to online in a little bit.
Oh man, gosh, so many memories. It's so fun. Let me just preface this by saying I love The Legend of Zelda on the NES. I love A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo, but my favorite all-time Legend of Zelda game, Ocarina of Time. I'm sorry, I just love that game. It's so good. And it is a tie between that game and StarCraft Brood War. I played both of those games so much. I played through Ocarina of Time. Actually, I just did this last week. I played Ocarina of Time. I beat the Water Temple before the Forest Temple because I'm awesome. I looked it up on YouTube, and it's great. But oh man, but StarCraft Brood War 2. I remember as a freshman in college getting together with all my buddies, and we had our big clunky laptops, right? And we would, hook up all the Ethernet cables and just go to town. And there was always that one guy who plays Zerg, and he would circling rush us every time. The worst, anyway. But man, good times, fun memories.
Well, absolutely, I'm going to agree with you. Ocarina of Time is the greatest game ever made. I love the Legend of Zelda series. I fell in love with it. That was the first game I won after resetting my friend's game. It was Zelda 2. I started with Zelda 2. I didn't even play Zelda 1 yet. I bought Zelda 2 first, and I was just in love with it, in love with Zelda. And the whole franchise is just wonderful. The one thing that I look for in games that last, and why I think the Zelda franchise lasts, is a good story, like the thread we've kind of all agreed upon, is that what makes a good game is story. Story is king. I also think it's playability. I saw my brother playing The Last of Us, and I was just blown away. I thought it was just the most amazingly beautiful game I'd seen up to date. And as I continued to watch him, I loved watching and being immersed in his story, and it is an amazing story. But at a certain point, all you're doing is watching these characters talk, and you can hit the button every once and again, and then you have a couple real moments where you're playing and defeating the enemy, whether it's the army or whether it's the zombies. And but then it goes right back into the story again, and you're kind of almost hands off for another hour. And I think, well, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm only going to play that game once. But I keep coming back to Zelda. I can play that game over and over and over again. I can sit with my kids and play that game. We can go through Ocarina of Time and see it through their eyes for the first time, and I just love it. And the only thing I would add is my second favorite game, speaking of RPGs, is Chrono Trigger.
There's a little series that I should never tell you to play is Metal Gear Solid if you don't want to watch cutscenes.
And can I just touch on that? I think story, especially as it involves immersion, right? I mean, the story doesn't necessarily have to be incredibly strong. It just has to suck you in, right? And then the other thing too is the controls have to be natural, which is funny because my favorite game is on the N64, and there's nothing more unnatural than that controller. I've got 3 arms, but luckily you only need 2 to play it, so it's fine. But it's, I don't know, tight controls and good immersion are what really make a game for me, and that game, man, a lot of these games, Chrono Trigger and even Metal Gear Solid just really suck you in. It's great.
So, what do you think about, back in the day you'd spend $50, $60 in a game. That was kind of it. Then DLC started. But now you've got the world of Skylanders and Infinity. Open up your pocketbooks. How do you think, is that changing the entire game, you think, or?
Yes and no. I think It's hard for me to pontificate on this too strongly. That was a big word. Sorry, big word like that hurt me. So I don't think that. I think it moves the industry in a good direction if it's used the right way. I think taking Skylanders and then Skylanders Swap Force, I think Disney Infinity is absolutely beautiful. I do think it's absolutely crazy how much money you can spend on it. But, some of the stuff you've seen where people are building like advanced logic systems within Disney Infinity and designing worlds, and then they're using the toys as money. So I think used correctly, it's really, really cool. But at the same time, there's a lot to be said for giving a developer $60 for a game and getting the complete game up front. I feel like games should be priced accurately. So, the Wii had a lot of this. We'd sell a lot of shovelware. And Hasbro released their 15 family game time, and it was $24.99, brand new. But you know what? If you wanted 15 board games to play with your kids, there's $25. Whereas I would rather do that, or hey, we're only going to give you a third. I think the episodic content from Telltale Games. $25 for a whole game, $5 an episode. If you hate it, you're only out $5. And it just so happens that they're so far all incredible games. So I think that's a better way to do it than the other way.
I'm probably in the minority, but I hate DLC with passion. I don't know who else in this room agrees with me about it. Because my first real experience with DLC, it came from Halo. And I'm sure any Halo player can shake their head at this experience. You're playing the game on multiplayer, you're kicking ass, you're taking names, you go to play another round, and guess what? You got to pay another $20 to download 3 levels every 3 months. And if you don't download those, you're excluded from about 50% of the options in front of you. So unless you give Microsoft another $20 on top of the $69 you already spent and another $60 over the next 2 years, you're only getting like a quarter of the game that you originally paid for. And I think it's a ripoff and a jip, and it's one of the reasons why I have to selectively pick what I'm going to play. I know I'll never be able to escape DLC, but at the same time, I don't have to give them the gratification of milking me for all I'm worth. And that's just my opinion on it.
Do you think? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the right answer, and we talk a lot about this on the podcast, is voting with your wallet. So if you don't like the way something's going, don't buy it. But I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Something like Monday Night Combat or Gotham City Imposters, that was a great game. And I sunk way more money into it just for content that wouldn't necessarily give me new maps, but I really like the studio, I like the game, I like what they did. There's, League of Legends, their free-to-play model. There's games like that have a good model for the incremental paying a studio. And they're not asking for that $60 price point up front, a lot of them. I even play Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, and I really like that. That's a kid's game, but I have a blast playing it with my kid.
And if the paywall's set correctly, I think that's the big problem. EA seems to do it wrong a lot. And that's, maybe they'll figure it out, who knows. But I think if you set your paywall right, it can work out really well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There's times, I remember I bought a used copy of Call of Duty 3, and this is when I was like, screw this, I'm not playing this game anymore. Bought it used, it'd been out for 6 months, and I couldn't I was in a game lobby, and it just kept kicking me out because I didn't have the newest maps, and that's not the way to do it. If you're going to have extended content, have it separated or something. I remember Halo 2 did have extra maps, but they didn't include them in the matchmaking system. They kept it separate.
Yeah.
So you can choose if you want to get those or not. It should be a choice, not a yes, you have to buy this in order to keep having an online experience. I agree. So.
Yeah, for me, I'm kind of torn between, because I totally see what you're saying, Gavin, and for me, I just bought last night the Mario Kart 8 expansion that they're going to do with new characters, like Zelda's coming, and new tracks. Wait, what?
Racing in BMWs.
Well, no, the Mercedes were free. Thanks, Nintendo. But yeah, all these characters come in, then 16 new tracks and all that. And I understand, you pay a certain price, but if you're going to continue the playability, I don't mind paying a little bit more. What I get sick of, I played, was it Injustice?
Yeah,
that's the worst.
When they make a game where there's absolutely no way for you to advance,
Unless you
unless you
download.
pay more, I think it's a bunch of crap. Because then to me, it's not about who's better at the game; it's about who's got the bigger wallet.
And from a
Yeah.
and from a competitive scene too, that season pass actually killed Injustice competitively. It fell off of the tournament circuit because the balance went completely out of whack. You know, Scorpion was well overpowered. A couple of the other guys came in, and it literally all the competitive professionals stopped playing Injustice. So they literally killed a game with the season pass, which is super unfortunate.
Yeah.
Also, all the
Yeah.
extras went with the price.
Yeah.
Like why do I need to pay $12.99 for 9 different skins on the same character that I'm playing already?
Yeah.
That's good.
You know, the iPhone version was okay.
Of which
Injustice.
no, that's where it took my money.
I know, it's brutal.
After like $10, I was like, never
Mo-
mind.
mobile games is a whole other barrel of fish. But
Yeah.
DLC, my deal is, I have a couple of opinions about it. First of all, I love DLC. I just don't want to pay for it. But you know, my biggest deal is when I go into a store and buy a game, I expect it to be the full game. I mean, and I don't want to be all I hate DLC, but I don't want to buy a prototype. You know, I remember buying Skyrim, and that game is fantastic, but I'm a vanilla Skyrim player because I didn't get Dawnguard, I didn't get Dragonborn, I didn't get whatever the other one was. Yeah, whatever that one was. But yeah, I didn't get it because I didn't. You know, I'd already paid. You know, it was a special at Walmart or whatever, $40. I don't know, but which is actually a pretty good deal. But I didn't want to pay any more for that content. I was happy, and I still think Skyrim is a fantastic game. But again, if this isn't the idea that like, you know, and it's one thing to say, okay, here's 2 new maps, right? You know, but it's another thing to say, oh gosh, the game wasn't ready. There are glitches, but we're gonna fix the glitches in the DLC. That to me is like borderline inappropriate. Like that's like you're not selling me a real product. So anyway, that's my biggest complaint with DLC. And I think I think there are ways to do it correctly. So, you know, but there are, again, ways that aren't correct. So, you know.
There's stuff like, has anyone played The Wolf Among Us or The Living Dead or The Walking Dead? Those continuous telltale stories, they've got it right. Like you're constantly being told a story, you get to choose your own adventure, and once that chapter's up, a couple months later, a new one comes down the road. I don't mind that. That's fantastic.
Did anybody finish season 2? Because poor Clementine, holy crap.
Stop now. And now finish.
Those models were waning until the iPhone came out.
Yeah.
And then the word freemium started coming back. And then it opened those floodgates up to really abuse us. And like you said, I mean, I agree. There are some companies doing it right, and I'm okay with it. But you know, the best thing to do is to, you know, as best you can, vote with your money, and that's how it works. And you know, I mean, think of like Candy Crush.
Man.
I don't want to think of Candy Crush.
They ruined your lives in more ways than one because they proved that they could milk you for that, and EA would see that and then join that model, and then you know it's like, well, is it really working? And then Candy Crush becomes an IPO on the stock market, and their stock soars to the roof because we keep aiming.
Do you think that mobile gaming will be the end of larger gaming formats?
No.
No.
I think it'll take money away from it, but
Well, I mean, I guess my question is, you know, you develop an app that costs you however much, and they make millions off of it, and then it takes however many millions of dollars to do a new Halo game or and they're only going to get so much back. Now, and that's probably where your DLC comes from.
See, and the problem with that on large consoles is that a lot of that development cost is marketing.
Yeah.
They've got to figure out a way to do it better. I mean, Tomb Raider on the Xbox 360 was deemed a failure. And one of the best games I played all last year, by the way, Tomb Raider was freaking amazing.
That was
Very
a failure.
They deemed it a failure because they didn't clear their marketing budget.
Wow.
I mean, they had Super Bowl ads and stuff going on for it. And they spend more money on marketing than development. And I think that's a whole other 3-hour discussion. But I think
But
that's
I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%.
And let's be honest, we're not up here talking about Flappy Bird. You know what I mean?
I love that game.
You can love it all you want. You can make that kid millions and millions of dollars, but is it going to resonate with you as long as some of the other titles that we've talked about already have? Hell no.
20 years from now at Comic-Con 2024, like, I love Flappy Bird.
Theory of
Flappy Bird's awesome.
Did you see Flappy Bird 2?
And you know, on that note, you know, it's almost like, you know, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, or even like Skyward Sword, or like, you know, Skyrim. I go out of my way to play those games, right? I go out, I sit down, I turn the console on, I want to play those games. 2048, I do that when I'm in line for this panel, right? And when I'm at the dentist's office, and so it's almost a different mentality, I feel like, between mobile games and console games.
Well, I think if there's something you're really passionate about, like the vote for your wallet, I can't say how much I believe in that. I mean, I have bought every Castlevania game they have made, even if I go into it full well knowing it's going to be the biggest hunk of crap I've ever purchased, because I know that one day they will make the perfect Castlevania game. But if we don't fund it, it's not going to happen.
One day Belmont will finally be victorious.
And he keeps investing on the ink on his arm for Castlevania.
Sir.
But I was going to say, in regards to mobile gaming, though, there's some great games out there, and I think you'll continue to see good games. Stuff like XCOM is a perfect example of that. It's worth every penny if you pay for it on your iPad. Definitely recommend it, as long as you have something better than an iPad too. So that. What else have I played on there? That's really important.
I'm excited to see, like, on the mobile side, how they move BioShock to the mobile screen. I think
There's
if
a
they
chance if
can.
anyone's played that yet on their device?
Which one?
BioShock Mobile.
Nobody's played it yet.
I was just asking if anyone played it yet.
So I know BioShock's this fall. I hope like if they can get that screen experience down, it may help mobile gaming move to a new level. Not that I'm particularly excited about that, but I think it would be cool to have a comparison where I could finally talk to my mom about games on a normal level.
All right, we've got about 10 minutes. Does anybody have any questions that they want to? There we go. Right here.
With Morpheus, Oculus Rift, and all the VR headsets, how do you expect that to be? Do you think it'll be a big connect once done, or
I think it's going to be different. I think it'll have a clientele for it, but I mean, I still play the Kinect for certain things. It still has an appeal. We play the crap out of Fruit Ninja. That's a great game. You get adult drinks and play that game, and it's a lot of
And
fun.
did you know that it can read like objects like active
You
plastic
can kick at
objects?
it. It
Oh,
works.
It's amazing.
Let's be honest, adult drinks make all games more fun.
Sure. So, I mean, to answer your question, though, I think it'll have a certain group. And actually, one of my friends and I were having this discussion. I think you're going to see more people geared towards, hey, let's take a vacation inside the Rift. I don't know, something like that.
I see like the goggles taking off, but like then I see things where the guy's like running in spot, running the place. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No sharp.
That sounds
Well,
awful.
and here's my deal. Actually, this is interesting. Did you see just last week? I think it was Samsung who announced that they're using the Oculus Power. Your phone becomes the screen. Anyway, I think that's the coolest thing. But I agree. I think that's a target market, right? One thing the gaming community has always showed us again and again is that consistency is rewarded with constant profit, and kind of random ingenuity is hit and miss at best. I mean, the Wii was a success, the Wii U was a complete flop, right? And but then you compare that to Call of Duty. Every Call of Duty game outsells its predecessor every time, and I don't doubt that's going to happen with the next one after Ghost. Anyway, what? Yeah, it's a mystery, but again, that's again, talk with your wallet, right? And so I think the future of gaming is minor adjustments, right? How can we increase immersion? How can we make controls tighter, right? Not necessarily how can I don't think Oculus Rift is going to be in everyone's house in 2 years.
But I do think like in 10 to 20, I can't think of the gentleman's name right now, but he was the CEO of it. John Carmack, thank you. That guy, has anybody watched the John Carmack speech? Like his 3-hour QuakeCon presentations where he basically stands up and talks about astrophysics for 2.5 hours? It's ridiculous. And watching that, a man that knows so much about technology and the future of the gaming industry, for him to go and put his mark on that and jump onto Oculus Rift, I feel like that he sees something that maybe we don't quite understand as the future yet. Like he's probably an android from the future.
Don't ruin it. I did like. I don't know if you saw that prototype of Oculus where it was in Skyrim. I love Skyrim. It's great. It's a lot of fun. But it was him like running around like Whiterun, right, with the Oculus Rift goggles. That looked like the coolest thing. I would pay like $50 to like prototype that for an hour. Just play with it.
I would also say Power VRAM because since '92 when I was 10, I was fascinated with virtual reality, and it seems like every 4 to 5 years there's a new
You bought
virtual reality is going to be the
you
next
bought the
big
Virtual
thing.
Boy, didn't
No,
you?
I didn't. No, I was about to bring it up though. It's just like, do you remember Nintendo saying that Virtual Boy was going to be the next leap in video gaming and everybody beware? And yeah, the
You got
red tape-
taken. You got fooled by the lawnmower man.
Hey Jimmy, can I make a recommendation? I want to know the Statue of Liberty.
That's what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
It's like that fear they were saying,
It's easy. The next Legend of Zelda for Nintendo.
I was about to say, yeah. I think I'm looking forward to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Yeah,
Monolith game, right?
Yeah, Monolith game. Ever since that Bright Lord trailer came out, that game looks dope. It looks awesome. I'm also excited again for the next Legend of Zelda. Not Hyrule Warriors. I am excited for Hyrule Warriors. I think it's going to be fun. But the next like real Legend of Zelda game, like anyway. It's I don't know at E3. I don't know if any of you saw that press conference when he was talking about that open world Legend of Zelda, and I was like, oh man, sandbox Legend of Zelda. I'm all about this biz. Like, so I hope that's what it is. But I'm excited for that.
I'm excited to hit Link with a red turtle shell. Because I'm not a Zelda fan. I don't think I've ever beaten Zelda games.
So you can glare at it.
Yeah, right. Hey, that's Luigi. Non-Nintendo. I'm stoked for Destiny. Is that Tuesday? Yeah. Everything I've seen about that game looks badass.
Who's pre-ordered Destiny? Oh yeah, here we go. Beta tested. Nice.
Who's just going to buy it digitally so a certain company doesn't get your money? Oh, just me? Okay.
And I don't know if they moved it. I saw it not this year at E3, but last year. I think it was Warner Brothers games. They were coming out with a new Mad Max game,
Yeah.
and it looked rad. But I haven't heard anything else about it, so I don't know if they got scrapped or not, or if it's going to come out with the new Mad. It's still going. Okay. I think it's probably going to be with Fury Road when that movie comes out. I'm guessing. Yeah. Okay. So Mad Max 2. T-O-O. Not the sequel.
So for me, it's going to be Evil Within and Alien Isolation is kind of a tie. Both those two for me. And Nintendo, I'm sorry, but the only thing I'm going to play Nintendo is if my kid finally figures out what Nintendo is. All he knows about right now is the Xbox. So
That means you're a good dad.
I'm in the same Destiny camp, but for Nintendo, Super Smash Bros.
Oh yeah.
I want to beat the hell out of people with Pac-Man.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, they opened up the Namco and the Capcom library to those guys, and I've seen demos of characters that haven't made it yet. It looks so awesome.
So, since I'm the last thing to be said before we get kicked out of here, you have to cheer even if you hate it, okay? We on board? Alright. So, Nintendo-wise, I am super amped for the Pokemon remakes this fall.
Yeah.
I tolerate so much Pokemon, you guys don't even know. I'm really excited for Destiny, but really, that PT demo on PS4. Yeah! I haven't put down a controller because I can't take the fear anymore since I was like 6. So I am really excited to spend 2.5 years slowly inching through the new Silent Hill. I think it's going to
it will take him 2 years.
It'll take me 2 years.
Oh, radio.
Dude, and the bloody fridge hanging to the ceiling.
I know.
Who does that?
That's why it's going to be awesome.
So, and then they lock you. They lock you in a dark bathroom with a fetus and a sink. It's not right, guys. It is not right.
I'm just excited for all the girls to buy it because of Norman Reedus, and then they're going to be scared.
Right? It's like the ultimate Rickroll.
Until they realize that you're spending 90% of the game looking at them from behind. Or moving up.
That's a good thing.
I think we got like 1 minute, so we probably don't have enough time for another question. But I do have to say one thing, because I wanted to get to this topic, and I don't think we have enough time to get to it. Parents, please kind of observe the ratings on video games.
Please.
Because I'm tired of playing 8-year-olds on Grand Theft Auto
And,
and being told that I'm words that I'm not even about to say in this room.
and to those of us that have sold video games professionally at a time in our lives that might have been dark, the phrase "they're going to hear it on the playground anyway" is not true. If your kid goes to a school where killing hookers is a normal thing,
It's only to get your money back.
yeah,
That's it.
I'd also take it a step further. If you have kids and you play video games, play with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had no funner time than beating my mom at Dr. Mario.
On that note, the Nintendo, they didn't publicize this very much. There's a $99 Wii that you can play with your kids. It's like a little one. It doesn't hook up to the internet. It's kind of Wii sauce, but it's great to play with your kids. It's a lot of fun.
That'll do it. Thanks so much for coming, guys.
Happy Comic-Con.